Hi, everybody. I love speaking about the stories on what has happened on epiphanies that people have experienced when using our services. And just a bit of a backstory, I had this one organization that had called me in, and they had just been informed that one of the young people had received the diagnosis that she had terminal cancer. And she was very young. She was in her teens, and they said the problem was they were trying to get her to obviously cope with the changes, and the team members, as well as the people who were supporting her, her family members, all these people to help her. And the wall that they were hitting every time was that every time they did try and speak to her, every time they did try and either counsel her or want to work as a team, they just hit wall after wall, and they had constant conflict. And it was quite a messy situation when I walked in. And the epiphany was we all realized that when I went in, I was saying to them that we kind of going to unravel everything and do it back to front, because we kind of approaching it, and everyone's been approaching it as an adult and as a perspective from an adult, and how things should be and must be, and start to rather explore creative ways to break through to this young beautiful person. And when we did was we then decided, okay, so now what we're going to do is I will come in and I will do specific art projects with this young person. But it wasn't just, right, let's paint and let's do what you want kind of thing. It was a different kind of process where we use a structured art program, and we're developing both sides of the brain, which then neutralizes and gets both sides into an equal balance mode, which relaxes the whole situation and changes the whole perspective. And then when you're in that mindset, then you are more likely to want to open up, you want to connecting with people, and you're wanting to change your situation. You almost have a ripple effect when you see you start achieving things without thinking that you're initially in therapy. So I went in, and obviously this young person was quite, you know, protective in because obviously they had to now learn trusting somebody else who's coming in, who's supposedly helping them. And we landed up over a series of weeks building a relationship where there was no pressure. There was a different approach that I use within the programs, and I teach people how to approach their clients that are suffering in silence. So when we eventually built this relationship, one day she just walked up to me and she burst into tears, and she said, "Justine, I'm going to die. I'm going to die." And I looked at her and I said, "Well, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? You are still living, you're still alive. What do you want to do?" And she said, "I want to go back to school. I want to get a degree. I want to get an acknowledgement. I want to get all these things." I said, "Well, anything's possible if you put your mind to it." And that was the huge bridge that had almost broken through quickly, where we had saved probably all these people trying to get through to this young person, to try and do counseling, to try and do all these things. We had saved so much time and money within the organization. They had spent thousands. And she looked at me and she said, "That's what I'm going to do." And I said, "Okay, so every week I'm going to meet up with you." I had about 8 weeks with her. I said, "Then I'm going to sit down and we're going to work out a specific creative approach to unlock her brain," which she didn't realize. We were just calling it art projects, but I was unlocking her brain so she could achieve an outcome. And the outcome was to be able to mentally find what steps she could take, objective steps, things to think of in advance, so that when she doesn't have energy, when she has energy, when she's going through her cancer treatments, what she can do so she can still be on her track to achieve her outcome. And it was quite interesting because obviously she deteriorated quite quickly, but she kept her mind focused. She kept her mind going. She kept everything that was going on. And eventually she asked me to speak certain words for her because she couldn't communicate. And this was quite a quick turnaround. I mean, we weren't working forever. I was only seeing maybe once a week for an hour, and then I'd feed back to the staff members on what they could do to change the situation around to make it comfortable for themselves and for this individual. And she landed receiving the qualification she wanted. It was so inspiring to see somebody so young achieve this, what she wanted to do. And I remember, at times she was really angry because she said, people come in and say to, how do you feel? She said, well, how do you think I feel? I'm dying and I've got somebody who's living asking me how I'm feeling. She said, who has that right to ask that question? And I thought, that's a very interesting question to ask. So, yes, by the time obviously we worked through all these things and we used different ways of approaching this creatively, the staff members could relax a lot more. They could ease off. They could understand where she was coming from. She could then just actually achieve what she wanted to achieve, and then not have the pressures of the family members, and everybody could deal with themselves and use the support around them. She then opened up to wanting some form of personal work transformation done with her, and that was her choice that she could choose. So she started wanting to learn what options were out there. So this was a great step for the organization to look at things from a different perspective and realize that especially those people that are suffering in silence don't want to feel like they are initially in therapy or being spoken at all the time. Rather, see them as an individual and build rapport quickly. I noticed that when we were working with sessions, people were wasting time, wasting almost 2 to 3 weeks just to build rapport with individuals, especially when they were really ill. And we were probably spending an hour, if that, to build that rapport. And within that hour, we probably got through to them within 15 minutes. So if you want to know more about how I can help you in your organization and see how these projects can work with you and your customers and clients, look forward to hearing from you.